I'm John Smith, and welcome back to Kingdom Real.
Thank you for joining us. This is part 4 of Journey to Healing and Forgiveness with guest John Smith.
Okay, so the last time we were talking about your time at the ranch.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, is that the only time that you ever went there?
No, we actually, I went twice, and your mom went 3 times. And all of those times were needed. The first time, I would describe it as life-saving.
Okay.
The way I would put it is, if it wasn't for our time with Dr. John Walker out at the ranch, there's absolutely no way I'd be in ministry anymore. I'm not 100% convinced that our marriage would have survived, and there's a real strong possibility I wouldn't be around anymore. So I am forever grateful. And after experiencing that, I devoted the rest of my life to serving other pastors and families that would go through similar things that I did. And the way I describe it, and the way your mom describes it, is our only negative statement about Blessing Ranch. We have one, and that is at the end of the week, you have to go home.
I understand.
We would have loved to stay for another year or two, and you just kind of, but we had to go back to the same place where all this happened.
Tell me what that was like.
It was hard.
Tell me the time frame again of when all this happened, when you went to the ranch.
So the event happened on a Monday night, May 10th, 1999. And we went to the ranch, I believe it was August.
Okay.
And then start of September, I was back at church and doing everything I would do as the pastor. And it was, the hardest thing was I had a block of time that I was away. And during that time, one of my staff members violated some things that I put in place. And I knew I needed to deal with it. And one of my trusted pastor friends that we met all the time kept saying, don't do it, don't do it. You're going to get crucified again. And you were crucified by Christians once, you're going to get crucified again. Don't do it, don't deal with it. And I'm going, I have to. It's a matter of integrity. And so I did. And that led to another disruptive blow up in the church where that person chose to leave in about the most calculated, destructive way possible. And now I had another whole group of people angry at me again. And, in church, walking through the fellowship hall, doing things like that, people passing notes, saying things. It was a scary place just to walk through because you never knew who was going to say what. And your mother never worshiped sitting in the sanctuary until the Sunday I left 3 years later. She was in charge of the nursery. She was in charge of the video production. And so she'd be in nursery one service, running the video on the other, and walk in between. And so she was in church longer than most people, but it was too unsafe for her to sit in a pew because she didn't know if the people next to her, behind her, in front of her, what they were saying, what they were thinking, what they were doing based on what we went through. So that was really hard for her going through all that. So, yeah, and so then that's the point where the depression kicked in. And the joy had been sucked out for about a year. And we met with another pastor and spouse, close friends of ours, and we knew they needed to go to Blessing Ranch. And we tried everything under the sun to convince him to go. And he was dodging and deflecting, and she would have gone in a heartbeat. And this may surprise you, but these words came out of your mother's mouth. I'm very concerned about you, to the other pastor's wife. I don't think you're going to make it. You need to go to Blessing Ranch. I know you won't go on your own, so I'm going with you.
Awesome.
I'm going like, yeah, that's really good stuff. That was amazing. So the two of them went out there, and once again, God worked it out. They were the only two people on the ranch.
Amazing.
And so he could work with the other pastor's wife half the time and with Mommy the other half. And it was really helpful for her because I think she was even more deeply wounded than I was. And just to have that time, and then in the evenings, the two of them would watch movies together and just have fun. But during the day, it was counseling, and it was really, really good. So when she got back, I bet she wasn't home a week. And she says, I think you need to go again.
Awesome.
And I said, oh, I'd love to. I have some things I would just love to talk over with John, but I'm not sure if I have a whole week's worth. And she says, what do you think he'd say to that? I says, oh, yeah, okay. So we called up, and amazing, he had another cancellation, and we were able to go just a couple weeks later. We went back out again, so it's my second time, her third time, and again, we're the only ones there. So we get the whole week just with the counselor and us, and this time, it was hope generating. In fact, on one of the afternoons, I was out hiking, and I got carried away, and I was crawled out on this. It had a plateau there, and I crawled out on this edge of it as far as I dared to, and then I just walked across the whole thing, and I blew off my afternoon session, which I never do that, which he thought was a really healthy sign.
Yeah.
And when I came back, and we processed through that, I said, what I discovered up on that mountain, if I keep doing ministry the way I am, I'm going to die. I can't keep going this way. I have to change significantly. And what wasn't clear was, do I go to another church, or do I try to do ministry differently in the same place where I've been all those years? And I made a promise to God when we first went there. He made it so very, very clear that's where he wanted. I said, I'll never leave until you tell me to. And boy, when all this happened, I wanted to leave in the worst way. I didn't want to stay. I wanted to leave, but God hadn't released me. And over this time, he proved how smart he is, because if he had released me, see, I was fortunate. A lot of pastors who go through what I did don't have the option of staying.
Right.
They're forced out, they're gone. And in my case, the board was united. They wanted me to stay, so I could, but none of them would have faulted me if I had left.
Absolutely.
But here's what I learned. If I had left any point prior to when I did, I would have been a wounded pastor who is unintentionally unaware wounding other people in the next church. I would have been a hurt pastor, unintentionally hurting other people in the church. That's kind of how it works. And God knew that. And I know for myself, I didn't think about this before, but the reason why the hurt went so deep, if it had happened from people in the community, it wouldn't hurt as bad. But it happened from my friends.
Thank you for joining us for part 4 of Journey to Healing and Forgiveness with John Smith. Tune in on Wednesday for part 5 and on Friday for part 6.